One Rhyme at a Time, Unpacking the Meaning and the Muse with the Poetic Diva, is podcast programming that reminds us of the connection between poetry and mental and emotional wellness. This program has been brought to you by Rhyme and Chat Interactive Poetry Organization and the financial and technical support of the Lyndhurst Foundation, Arts Build, Gold Nook Productions, and our Chattanooga local NPR station, WUTC 88.1. So whether you are a poetry enthusiast or simply someone seeking inspiration and understanding, join us as we unravel the threads of creativity and introspection, one rhyme at a time. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to One Rhyme at a Time, Unpacking the Meaning and the Muse podcast, where poetry meets mental wellness right here in the heart of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am the Poetic Diva, and I am thrilled to embark on this poetic healing journey with you. Now, as in every episode, we are being visited by a poet and a topic professional. And today we welcome Mirabelle Soufer, her father, Aaron Soufer, and retired educator and fellow creative, Sylvia Greene. This is part one of a two-part series focusing on our children, their hearts, their minds, their emotions, their creativity, and the incredible impact that the arts can have on their mental and emotional well-being, as well as their academic success. You know, one of the most beautiful things about children is that their creativity comes naturally to them. A toddler does not need permission to dance. A child doesn't need credentials in order to draw. Kids sing before they can pronounce all their words correctly. They imagine entire universes from cardboard boxes and blankets. You see, creativity is native to childhood. But somewhere along the way, many children begin to lose access to that freedom. Budgets for arts programs are cut, communities lose creative spaces, testing becomes more important than expression, and children slowly begin learning how to suppress emotion instead of processing it. But study after study continues to show that engagement in the arts improves emotional regulation, confidence, communication skills, empathy, social connection, and even academic performance. So join me as we welcome our very first guest, Miss Mirabelle Soufer. Mirabelle Soufer is a 10-year-old fourth grade student at the Bright School in Chattanooga. She developed an early interest in poetry and last year won a medal for her poem, Good Grief, in the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga's Young Southern Student Writers Contest. In addition to poetry, Mirabelle enjoys writing prose, painting, drawing, and exploring other visual arts. She is an avid reader, a member of the Bright School's track and field team, and does jujitsu. Mirabelle was also selected to serve on the school's Cares Council, which focuses on fostering a culture of caring, kindness, and mutual respect. Please join me in welcoming Mirabelle Soufer to One Rhyme at a Time. So Mirabelle, if you would start off by giving us the title of your poem and then share your poem with us.
Thank you. My poem is called One Day I Asked My Mother. One day I asked my mother, "What is a flower made of?" And she said, "My dear, a flower is made from buttermilk, brought from heaven, a love made from two hearts of true, the bravery of a soldier willing to sacrifice everything for what is right, and the beauty of an angle. My darling, you are a flower." Thank you.
Mirabelle, thank you so very much for joining us on our podcast. So I want to find out, what was the inspiration for writing this particular poem? What prompted you to put pen to paper?
Well, our end of the year project was we were making poetry anthologies, which is a collection of poems made into like maybe 10 poems, like in a small book. You know.
Nice.
My goal was to make 10 poems by the end of the week. And so they didn't have to be like super advanced, you know? And so I started off with a really good line, then another good line, then another good line, and I kind of got that feeling when I was like on a roll.
Yeah. Did this conversation ever happen as far as you asking your mother what a flower is made of?
No.
Okay. So where did the idea come from?
I was trying to have one of those moments when you are thinking about something deep and then you think of and then you feel something in your heart. And then you think of a very poetic line and you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And then you make more and more and more and it's kind of like you're teaching yourself, you know.
Yes.
And I wanted to have that moment really badly because I wanted a good poem, you know. I wanted a solid anthology.
Yes. I get that. I get that. I get that. And that's the beautiful thing about having a creative mind and just being able to sit alone with your pen and with your paper and just write from the inside out. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So was this the beginning of your relationship with writing, or had you been writing before you got this assignment?
Actually, I was assigned to this assignment like a few weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
Like 3 weeks before the end of school. So I had definitely been writing before this. I won your competition actually before this.
And when you say your competition,
There was a Democracy Speaks competition hosted by Miss Marcia. Across all of Chattanooga, open to all ages, for poetry, and the winner was granted $500. Only 16 selected poets, and I was one of them. As
prior to being selected for Democracy Speaks, like when did you start? Like you're 10. Like when did you start writing?
in 3rd grade, I, just came out of second,
Right.
kind of, no offense to any like 2nd grade and below, but kind of growing up, I'm going to say, realizing the world.
Yes.
Like discovering how to be more mature.
Definitely.
And everybody thought I was in 5th grade and everybody thought I was so mature. And, that made me feel good. And that kind of gave me a push to believe in myself. Poetry for me is trying to describe either any emotion that is so deep that it's indescribable, just trying to describe it.
Yeah.
And there was a competition that everyone had to enter, and we were doing poems about emotions. And I made a poem called Good and Grief, as you mentioned, and I tried that for the first time.
And won.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
And I thought it was just so beautiful. And then when my mom found out about your competition, the Democracy Speaks competition,
yes,
she was like, "Oh, Mirabelle, you're a super talented writer. You should enter this." Shout out to my mom.
Yes, definitely.
So I entered your competition.
Yes.
Feeling confident, and I won.
And I will tell you, even though you were the youngest in that group of 16, like it was you were on their level. Like you are an amazing addition to that group. You gave amazing feedback and interaction with that group. It wasn't a situation to where you were shy and isolated and withdrawn. when they were asking for input, for constructive criticism on what they had created, you would chime in and give that. When you were asking for it, you were very accepting to what they had to say. How did that experience, how did you feel about that experience? Because you did an amazing job in that element.
I'm a very outgoing person, I'm going to say that. And, you know, everybody kind of wants to just don't care what other people think. That's like lots of themes in books or movies or some poems. And everybody wants to be like, oh, I don't care what you think. I don't care what other people think. And, you know, that's lots of people want to do that. Want to actually feel that way, want to be one of those people. And, you know, I think if everyone didn't care what other people thought, world peace. That's all I got. World peace.
Yeah.
I want to defy those adults.
Yeah.
I want to be like, I want to be the best one out there.
Exactly.
So, and, you know, I have so much support from all of my family members. And they say, Mirabelle, be yourself. Yourself is amazing. And, you know, I think myself is amazing because I love myself. And that is all I need. And so I just showed Mirabelle, you know. I was like, hey, people, this is me. You better like it.
Okay. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
I love how you are so very comfortable in the skin that you're in. And that is a superpower because there are a lot of people who are followers, who are influenced by forces outside of their friends and their family, the people who really, really care about them. They're influenced by social media. They're influenced by, by things that they see on television and things of that nature. And it's not a bad thing to be influenced by some of those things, but it needs to run through a filter as far as what are your standards, what do you believe in, and things of that nature. And there's some people who don't have standards and they don't believe in anything and they don't really know who they are. And I truly, truly love the fact that you are so very comfortable in your skin and that you love yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, sometimes I'm not, and that's okay. Because, you know, just in the car when we were driving here, I was talking about how today I was at a camp because it's summer, and I was at a track and field camp, and we were doing hurdles, and we got split into groups, like by how two groups by there was like the more advanced group and then there was like the not advanced group. And I was jumping over like full-sized hurdles and I was jumping super well and I was in the not so advanced group and it
How did
didn't
that
really
feel?
it didn't really feel that great, you know?
Yeah.
And I was talking to a person who I really look up to, and that person is my dad. Because he is always looking for a way to cheer other people up. So I talked to him about it, and wise words he said to me. He told me stories of when he felt the exact same. He told me that, well, maybe you're better at those kids in different things. And sometimes you have your good days and you have your bad days. And it's okay to sometimes, you know, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible artist. Like sometimes you're gonna say to yourself, oh my gosh, why does everyone think that girl's so good at art? I'm also good. You know, I wish I could do that. I'm not that smart. I have been trying this for so long. Why haven't I gotten this? Things happen, but if you persevere and stay true to your heart, it'll be okay. You can get through this.
That is very true and very wise guidance from your father.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that says that comparison is the thief of joy. So one thing that in a situation like what you just described, that I would encourage you to do is to allow your comparison to be against yourself, rather than comparing yourself to other people and what they're capable of doing, and they're doing better than you are at this, and you're doing better at them than that. Compare yourself to, am I doing my very best? And am I doing better this week than I did last week? And next week, I'm going to do even better than I did last week. And let your biggest competition be you. And I think that's a great way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that.
I do want to know, what does writing do for you as far as how you feel, how you think, how you function in the world? What does writing do for you?
It makes me feel confident about myself. It's like, you know, I am a good writer. Mirabelle, you can do this, you know? I think it helps, like, sometimes, in certain situations, getting my feelings out on paper, or even reading a poem, sitting down and reading a poem and saying, wow, pat on the back to that writer. That must have, like, feeling, like, sometimes getting your feelings down on paper can make you feel better.
That's true.
And sometimes, like, feeling not that confident in yourself. Like, sometimes you're just gonna feel like, I'm not that great.
That's true.
And then you're gonna be like, well, Mirabelle, you did this, and this, and this, and this. And you're just gonna have to say to yourself, you're great.
You're great.
No matter what, you're great. You're fine. You're alive. Spread your magic.
There you go.
Everyone has it. You just gotta show it. And you just gotta find it.
Are there any closing things that you want to share when it comes to maybe to people your age about the importance of reading and writing?
Just because you wrote one terrible piece doesn't mean you're gonna write another terrible piece. Just because you're not that good doesn't mean you can't get better. You just gotta know that no matter what, when you're in tough times, when you're in tough situations, you always have the people you love. You always have the people you love in your heart.
Yes.
And if you're lonely and sad, you just gotta remember that poetry is always there to put a smile on your face.
I love it. Mirabelle, thank you so very much for being with us. You have been a joy. Thanks, Mirabelle, for sharing your poem with us. We want to acknowledge that today's conversation touches on mental health, but it is not a substitute for mental health care or professional counseling. If you or a young person you know is struggling emotionally, please seek support from qualified mental health professionals, trusted adults, school counselors, or community resources. Now, with that being said, let's continue this conversation with a special talk with Mirabelle's father, RNCPoetry. RNCPoetry, thank you so very much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
So you are Mirabelle's father.
Yes.
So you're the one who gave the amazing, wise guidance to your daughter when she was having a challenging time.
Yeah.
So what's it like parenting a Mirabelle?
It's wonderful. She's a wonderful girl. She's very precocious, very kind. parenting is always a wild adventure, as you know, and it's wonderful to be able to have that adventure with Mirabelle. She's great.
Was there any intentionality on your part and the part of Mirabelle's mom when it comes to her exposure to the arts? Because I'm looking at her bio and she writes and she's a visual artist and things of that nature. Was that done intentionally?
Some yes and some no. I mean, I think like some of the best decisions in life we sort of stumble into, but it's usually guided by some intentionality. My my wife, who's also, I mean, I can't take all the credit here. I drove her here, so that's
Sam,
why.
just
So I'm
the
on
driver.
yeah, I'm just the driver. Yeah, but no, my wife is my wife's the reader, and I'm sort of the math science guy. But actually, both my wife and I, in our earlier lives, actually wrote poetry and were very involved in the arts. Um, but in raising them, I think my wife really focused on having Mirabelle get exposed to reading, and Mirabelle has become an avid reader. And so, with that, I think she started writing at an earlier age and reading poetry and writing. The visual arts, I mean, I was very much into the visual arts when I was younger, but Mirabelle has really taken it to a different level. I mean, she really is. She's just gotten really way into it, and she's great with that too. Yeah, I don't think that we did that with any intentionality. I think that's just in her soul.
I love the fact that you've provided a safe place for her to explore her different talents and gifts, to even realize that she has a gift for writing and realize that she has a gift for painting and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And my wife is really good at just finding different contests or things to enter, and then we encourage her to do those things. She's really the organizer, and so allows for those opportunities. And I think and Mirabelle was talking with you about some of the contests, and I think like contests are contests. I think they're good to be a part of, to push yourself. I think the winning awards is just it, I don't think it's absolutely necessary for the process, but I think it is good to inspire some confidence in that, like, she won an award, so she kept doing it. And then she won another award, so she keeps doing it. And then I think, it's, I find it's been interesting to see that for the different contests, there's sort of different themes. So she's like sort of pushed herself to write in different themes, like with Democracy Speaks. There was a theme in women's suffrage, and she actually did a historical deep dive and learned a lot. And like that was actually a very tough poem for her to write, because it was like based in history. Her Good Grief poem was based in an emotional sort of dealing with grief, and dealing with and turning bad things in life into a positive in that concept. And then I actually found it interesting, so like for the anthology that she was writing for school, and you're asking her, what inspired her, like it almost reminded me of John Lennon, who there was this story of, I, there was someone that was camped outside of his house, and they were obsessed with his lyrics and this deeper meaning in his lyrics, and they were almost harassing him about it. And there's actually a documentary of this, and there's this video of John Lennon going and confronting this sort of crazy person that's been stalking him.
Right.
And he just tells the guy, there's no meaning.
It's really not that
There's
deep.
no meaning. It's not that you're overthinking it.
Right.
They are words that sounded good to me.
There you go. And it's just strung together.
This is John Lennon, like one of the. He's like wrote some of the most incredible
Lyrics.
Beatles music lyrics,
Yes.
and like sometimes it just sounds good, and like there,
Exactly.
and I think that's what I think that's what that poem that she wrote means to me, because like when I read that poem, it was on a piece of scrap paper, and I read it and I was just like, Mirabelle, this is gorgeous. I
Yes.
love this. She's
Yes.
like, oh, this, and I think that for her, it was just writing things that seemed to flow and sounded good. And if that's all it was, when I read it, it like touched me,
Exactly.
And I think that's why. And sometimes it's hard to describe that. And it was sort of interesting to see a 10-year-old mind of someone who's really precocious try to explain what inspired that. And sometimes the answer is I
I
don't
don't
know,
know. I don't know. It
but it
just came
sounds
out of me.
damn good.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the beautiful things about being able to create, because where the creator, the poet, is in the moment that they create it, it means different things to different people
Hmm.
depending on what their life experience has been. And all of it is right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of it
Yeah.
is correct.
Even the guy that was stalking John Lennon, I mean,
Exactly.
that's correct to
He
him
was still, it
too.
wasn't
Yeah.
correct to stalk John Lennon, but
Yeah,
his
exactly. Yeah.
meaning,
But the
right,
meaning
what he
was, yeah,
got from
right.
the creation, it was all correct. And that's one
Yes.
of the beautiful things
Yes. Not
about
the
being able to
stalking.
create, not the
Not the
stalking. No,
stalking.
we don't condone
I do
the
not
stalking.
condone stalking of poets,
Don't stalk
especially my talk. Yeah,
Mirabelle.
yeah,
Please.
yeah, yeah. Poetry, yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
but that is truly powerful and a beautiful thing
yeah.
about the arts and being able to create in such a way.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite line from the poem that she created?
I think I do, in fact, one of the most interesting lines is that Mirabelle was reading it and she read to my wife and I the beauty of an angel, but it's actually written the beauty of an angle. And,
Ah,
and my wife and I were thinking, oh, we were thinking like the beauty of geometry of like an actual
angle.
angle. And it was sort of interesting how that came out, and it's sort of like a mistake ends up being something that is interesting,
Definitely.
and I thought that that was just something that really interesting that came out of the poem.
Okay, so let me get this clear. So the final version says the beauty of an angle,
Mhm.
but when it came from Mirabelle, it was actually supposed to be the beauty of an angel,
Mhm.
but the L and the E were
It got mixed
switched.
up,
Right.
but I actually
And it
think,
ended up being brilliant.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it ends
totally
up
agree.
working,
And
right?
that's exactly what I was thinking when I read it. I was like, oh, that was a shift.
Yeah,
That
right.
was a shift when it got down to willing to sacrifice everything for what is right. And the
Mhm.
beauty of an angel. No, it's not angel, it's angle.
Angle.
And it's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the beauty of an
Eh,
angle.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because there's a lot of depth, and that spoke to the scientific
Yeah,
mathematician in you.
mathematical. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That
yeah.
spoke to you. I totally get that. I totally get
Yes.
that.
So,
Still, like one of the beautiful things about being able to create that allows things like that to
yes,
happen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do remember from a previous conversation that I had with either you or with your wife about how Mirabelle writes every day. And in her doing that, along with the other arts that she has exposure, do you see there being some mental health, mental wellness benefits to her being able to have that opportunity?
Yeah, I think there definitely are. I think that whether it be just an outlet every day to have, between herself and the page, or writing a specific poem about a, a topic that's causing her more stress in life, or I mean, sort of having something that's a craft that she gets better at, and gets sort of recognition for. I mean, I think that seems to be important to her as well, and I think that that makes sense. I mean, I think we all, as we grow up, you start, I have hobbies that I want to get better at, and I feel better when I see myself getting better. And I think for her, that there's part of that in it too. It's like, build self-confidence, so I think all those different aspects. But yeah.
I love that. You're doing a great job, Dad.
Thank you.
And Mom.
And Mom. Definitely
And
Mom. 51% Mom.
Okay.
49% Dad. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sylvia Jones Greene is a retired educator and lifelong advocate for the power of words. A former K-12 educator in Hamilton County Schools, Sylvia devoted her professional life to nurturing young minds and inspiring creativity in the classroom. She started her teaching career at Tyner High School as an exceptional education teacher for those with special needs. She went on to serve as a teacher trainer at several local schools, including Hardy Elementary, Clifton Hills, Marianne Garber, and East Hamilton Middle High School, with a focus on English and language arts. Her love for poetry and storytelling began in elementary school, where she discovered the magic of expression through rhythm, rhyme, and imagination. That early spark grew into a lifelong passion, one she would later pass on to countless students. As a consulting teacher, Sylvia's role carried her into classrooms across all grade levels and across the region. There, she used poetry as a bridge between literacy and emotion, helping young writers find their voices and recognize the beauty of self-expression. Her lessons were never just about writing. They were about confidence, healing, and the joy of sharing one's truth through a pen. After retiring, Sylvia's journey took on a new chapter inspired by her son, Michael Greene, affectionately known as Mike G. the Poet. Michael, once a quiet and thoughtful student, found his own voice through poetry. He transformed his shyness into strength, performing spoken word pieces that touched hearts and inspired many. His dedication to the craft and his message of empowerment, "Every lion has its roar," became his life's philosophy. Join me in welcoming Miss Sylvia Greene to One Rhyme at a Time. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you so very much.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be with you. It is a privilege. Thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. So tell us a bit about your teaching career, the age groups that you worked with, and how the arts had a part in that.
Oh my goodness. So, well, I started my career in high school, as you mentioned, at Tyner High, and was there teaching students with special needs. And so that's where I actually got the perspective of what happens with high school students who have not received what we call a multidisciplinary type of curriculum. That means a curriculum where, yes, the core subjects are taught, reading, writing, arithmetic, as they say, along with social studies, but it was just textbook driven and textbook tested.
Yes.
And what few fail to realize, many times the textbooks and their tests were written 2 to 3 grade levels above where the child was. And so that created great anxiety, lots of stress, and unfortunately, failure. And so looking at that on the end of starting out in high school, when I migrated to elementary school, it made me want to teach harder than I thought was even possible, because I knew what those students would be facing on the other end. And many times in the elementary schools, when students could not succeed in the manner in which they were being taught from an academic base, they were failing and would have to repeat. and repetition, repeating grades, you find these young people then in high school 2 to 3 years after they should have graduated.
And it didn't have anything to do with a lack of intelligence.
Right.
It was the method in which they were being
the
taught.
method in which the information was being presented to them. And, basically that was it, as we said, the way in which it was being presented and then expected to be assessed. How would they be able to show what they know? And so many of them could not show it, even though it might be in there.
Right.
They could not demonstrate what they knew through the testing methods that they were being, assessed with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how did the arts assist with that?
I was trained, thank goodness, with a lot of brain-based teaching methods, methods that I passed on, to classroom teachers. And in saying that, we looked at not how smart the child is, but how is the child smart? So that we could focus on what is their strength, how do we take their strength and teach the academics. And what we discovered, many of them were very smart in the arts. Many times talent that was never tapped because the curriculum was so academically driven.
Exactly.
But if you ask a child in science to draw out, say something in the subject of biology or, the same in social studies, you put that visual art piece in there. Oh my goodness. Now you've opened up a whole new world and a whole of understanding science. The same thing with math. Taking the arts and that child being able to draw, out and actually connect with, a visual art of what the mathematics is trying, to convey. So much better. Now they could understand. But even further, when you connected real stories, narratives sometimes, different, genres, but stories and poetry that they could relate to. Oh my goodness, the world of learning opened up for them and they could be successful.
What types of changes did you see in these young people?
Okay, well, let me just take a step back to the teacher. The teachers had been trained prior to our coming in just one modality of teaching that was academically driven, that was state or, district tested, and was number focused.
That's right, because you were a teacher trainer.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And so one of the main things I had to do was change the mindset of the teacher that this will work, that bringing the arts and into their, teaching and learning, bringing the arts into that was not play, was not fluff, was not this hobby thing we do, after lunch or something, this add-on, but was a very vital part and could change the learning of the classroom. So in order to do that, then I had to step in and develop lessons that included arts, and whether it was visual arts, poetry written, or spoken word, and have them act out, the story, the vocabulary, the science, and have them actively engaged with it, that it wasn't play, and then how to take the art, connect it to the actual vocabulary and the different things that was required, and even a step further because you had to be able to show how the arts could enhance the learning and then affect the test results.
Exactly.
So we had a big job in front of us, but eventually, the more we did it, it's hard for anyone to argue with success. And as they would see, the idea of the teachers or of the children receiving the information, engaging them,
Yes.
minds not wandering off or them just losing focus, and could actually tell you what they had learned, which was my way, my number one way of assessing what a student know. Tell me, teach me that, or teach a peer,
Peer. Yeah.
peer learning. And then if they can teach one of their peers, you knew that they knew it. But
Exactly.
the arts just opened up a
Yes.
whole new world for so many struggling students who had not had success before.
Exactly.
And a lot of times that goes outside of the realm of the core education and into the arts where their talent can be tapped into.
I love that.
You know, their
love that.
passions can be tapped into. And again, they can feel successful because success breeds success.
Ah, yes. Oh,
Mhm.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Once you get a few wins under your belt,
Oh, yes.
yeah, it does give you
Yes.
elevated confidence and
I love that, the elevated confidence.
it does. It really does.
Absolutely.
And even our young poet that spoke earlier,
Mhm.
she even talked about that feeling of confidence and feeling just really, really proud of herself
Mhm.
and being able to create her poetry, share her poetry, and to have it well received.
Yes.
So I'm sure that in a classroom environment, especially for those students who have felt like underdogs, like I can't do this, or this is intimidating, this is hard, and then all of a sudden to have some successes and realize that they are capable. Once you have that improved confidence, then you want to step out more and you want to try more things and new things and things of that nature. It can change your life. So in addition to these improved test grades and test performance, what other things did you see as far as changes in the morale or the personality of the student?
I'm so very glad that you asked that because in this day and time, school is very stressful for students. Um, there are more school situations, unfortunately, school shootings. There are more things happening in our community that kids are witnessing and bringing to school
That's true.
with them. And so, what I've seen is that the arts, especially, let's talk about narrative writing and the ability in writing, whether it is poetic form or narrative form about themselves or personal writing situations, because it's always easy for children to start out writing about themselves and those that are closest to them. But it has provided a safe space for children to be able to write about the trauma that many of them are experiencing, but would never speak it, out loud.
Yes.
And so it's provided that I've seen writing and drawing and poetry, be an anxiety relief that once again, I can put it down on paper. And even if I choose to not share it, out verbally, it's down, it's been released from me. And the educator, who is the nurturer, the lead, the guide in that room, can then help the student to be able to manage to manage the trauma, because there are some things that many of our students who go back home
Yeah.
to stressful environments,
That's true.
we can't manage there. But what we can do when they come into that classroom for 7 hours in that day, provide the best that we can for them to feel seen, to feel accepted,
Yes.
and to feel loved.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into some additional barriers that you're aware of that has prevented young people from participating in the arts.
Well, I can tell you one is the lack of funding.
Yeah.
For many years, I witnessed arts being the first thing on the chopping block when there was a conversation about budgeting.
Yes.
I've seen many art teachers who lost jobs because they, the powers that be, those over the district said, this is not necessary. And so let's cut the art teachers. Along with, I've seen also music teachers, or the music teacher would be spreaded. So then, among not just one school or two schools, sometimes 3 or 4 schools or more. So they had very limited time to, actually develop the students. Many choirs that were, young youthful choirs that tapped into the musical talent, of young musical groups, little small orchestras and flutophone groups, all of that slashed because of a lack of funding.
Yes, and you're speaking on behalf of our educational system, but that brings to my mind on the nonprofit end, we're experiencing that like right now. There's an amazing nonprofit in Chattanooga called Arts Build, and they have been funding many of the programs that are the arts programs that are happening in our city. And they are being hit with all types of funding cuts that's going to have like a ripple effect all throughout our community. And Arts Build is actually one of the main supporters of this podcast and of Rhyme and Chat Interactive Poetry Organization and many other organizations through the city. There's also cuts that are impacting the radio station, our local nonprofit radio station, WTC 88.1, that airs this particular podcast. They're experiencing budget cuts. And the arts fuel us. The arts, right. So it's happening in the schools, but it's happening throughout our communities as well.
I am so glad that you brought up Arts Build. They provided money for us to go on field trips that were arts-based. And I am, to this day, even though I am a retired educator, when I think about what they provided for us in urban schools who did not have a lot of money to do different programs and expose our children, Arts Build did that for us many years ago. And I am so grateful and grateful to be able to speak on their behalf.
I want to thank you so very much for coming on, for having this conversation with us. And so I know that you're retired, but if anybody is wanting to reach out to you, to have a conversation with you, to get more wisdom and nuggets from you, is there a way that people can contact you?
Absolutely. My email address is Sylvia, SYLVIA, dot InShapeMD, INSHAPEMD @gmail.com. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram.
And would it be under
Denise.
Sylvia Greene?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them are under Sylvia Greene, so I can't say that.
You can't. We thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Mirabelle, Aaron, and Ms. Sylvia for sharing with us. As mentioned earlier, Mirabelle is part of a one-of-a-kind public poetry exhibit in Chattanooga, Tennessee that will hold its launch event on Sunday, June 28th at 5:30. It is called the Democracy Speaks Civic Poetry Pathway, and both Mirabelle and Sylvia have poetry featured along with 14 other gifted writers through interactive displayed signage through Renaissance Park. Even though the poetry will be accessible to park visitors for the rest of the year, this event on Sunday, June 28th is an opportunity for the entire community to come out and support Mirabelle, Miss Sylvia, and the other local poets as they share their poetic voice alongside live music, food, and community. This event is presented by Rhyme and Chat Interactive Poetry Organization and the City of Chattanooga Office of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy. Visit poetrypathwaycha.com for details leading up to this event and even after this event, as the exhibit will be active for the remainder of the year and into 2027. And we would like to hear from you. What is your connection to the arts? How has artistic expression impacted you in your youth and the young people in your life? Have you seen the act of reading, writing, self-expression change the lives of young people in the community? Share your experience in an original poem that you've written in response to this podcast. Submit your poem to rncpoetry@gmail.com for the opportunity to have your poem read on an upcoming episode. We will be closing out this episode with the poem that our guest, Mirabelle, crafted for Democracy Speaks. Enjoy the poetry, and we hope to see you on June 28th. And until next time, this is the Poetic Diva. May your days be filled with inspiration, healing, and poetry, one rhyme at a time.
How Long by Mirabelle Soufer. A word of envy, sadness, anger, and dark. Hope, home, joy, and love, where secrets often hide in plain sight. A place, reality. Everyone has darkened light, and their souls held so tight, where everyone deserves their rights. But in reality, there are things not everybody knows, like voices hiding in the shadows. How long must we wait for liberty? We clean, we cook, we do your chores, we shine everything that is yours, and all we get is grief. When we find any ounce of cheer, you twist it into fear. We cannot vote, we cannot get a say, or choose our future in any way. You say we are yours, you make us believe it. You shame us, you choke us, you break us, you beat us. We say you shall stop. We deserve our rights, for we are all people, and that is what's right. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. Ida B. Wells. Susan B. Anthony, Lucy Stone, Lucretia Marr, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. We put in our ballots, we hold up our signs. You throw us in jail as we put our lives on the line. Inez Milholland rode on a white horse so tall. We are our own saviors for one and for all. With gleaming eyes and a golden crown, enough to make the stars bow down. Mr. President, how long must woman wait for liberty? Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, Nanny Helen Burroughs, Mary Burnett Talbot, persevered through the hatred. We are people too. At the March on Washington, you said go to the back, but we are not fighting on a parallel track. Alice Paul, Lucy Burns, proud leaders of the Silent Sentinels, 2,000 strong, picketing and protesting for woman with a vote. The night of terror, November 14th, 1917, all lost in the abyss of that cold dark cell, chained up to the bars, unbearable things, unspeakable threats, enough to fill the ocean with the tears that were shed. How long? How long must we wait for liberty? From ocean to ocean, from sea to sea, for purple mountain majesties, for all those seeking to be free, listen to our whispered pleas. They cannot wait for liberty. For women are people, no different from you see. And if people deserve their rights, then so should her and she.
Before we close this episode, I want us to remember something important. Children are not empty vessels waiting to become humans later. They are already whole people, already feeling deeply, already processing the world around them. And when we invest in the arts, we are not simply funding entertainment. We are funding emotional literacy, confidence, connection, healing, imagination, possibility. We are telling young people that your voice matters, your ideas matter, your emotions matter, your story matters. And in a world that's constantly trying to harden our children too quickly, the arts allow them to remain soft enough to dream. And that matters. So thank you for joining us on this episode of One Rhyme at a Time. Be sure to share this conversation with educators, parents, mentors, artists, youth leaders, and anyone investing in the next generation. Sometimes one conversation changes a life. Sometimes one song restores hope. Sometimes one poem helps a child finally feel understood. We heal, we connect, and we grow. One rhyme at a time. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, share, and leave comments for us on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us as we continue to bring you meaningful content, one rhyme at a time.